Okay, so you were in a muscle growth phase, your objective is to grow muscle, but you just don't have an appetite and you're struggling to get the food in. What can we do about this? Now we have to understand that when you're trying to grow muscle, for the vast majority of people, you do need to be consuming a calorie surplus. That's just absolutely true for the vast majority of people. So a calorie surplus, by definition, is extra calories. It's more than your body would usually ask for, which means that since your body regulates its hunger signaling relative to how many calories it knows it needs and how many calories you've given it, it's not going to ask for extra calories in most cases unless you're doing something sloppy with your diet. So in most cases, your body knows how much it's burning, it knows how much it needs, and it will send you hunger signaling based on the chemical and mechanical information that you give it by consuming said food. It will regulate its hunger signaling to tell you when is enough and when is not. But now in this scenario, it's a bit unique because we're trying to eat over and above what your body's asking for. So yes, you're not going to be entirely hungry for all your meals. The first thing that I would say is if you're moving into a building phase or a bulk or a muscle growth phase, which all mean the same thing, you've never done it before, then just be aware that you might not be hungry for all your meals, and that's okay. In fact, if you can't get the food in, you're probably just not going to grow muscle. So have the mindset going into it that I'm not going to be hungry for all my meals. And there are going to be some meals that I'm just eating to tick a box, just because I need to do it because my progress relies on it, as opposed to having a burning desire and excitement to consume that food. Now, this can go a little bit further, and some people can really struggle with their appetite. Say you're not naturally a hungry person, and there's some contextual reasons, and for whatever reason, you have a certain amount of food that you know you need to eat, and you're just struggling to get it in. Now, a couple of things that we can do is make the food tastier and make it less voluminous in order to make it easier for you to get it in. So imagine this example. On one hand, we have a meal that is 500 grams of potatoes or something ridiculous. And then we've got lean meats and a big sack of vegetables and maybe half an avocado on the side. The plate of food is about this big. And let's say, for example, this is 600 calories. Now on the other side, what we might have is, say, a protein shake with a bagel on the side. You're going to drizzle some honey and have some peanut butter, and say that's about 600 calories. That feels like a snack. This feels like the biggest meal of your life. And obviously, if you're not very hungry, trying to ask yourself to eat the biggest meal of your life 5 or 6 times a day, 4 times a day, however many meals you've decided is appropriate for you, it's obviously not going to be desirable. As opposed to if some of your meals feel tasty and feel like snacks that even though you're not too hungry, you don't mind eating it because it's not this huge ugly task in your face. So try and think about what foods are tasty and what foods are low volume for the most part. Now this doesn't mean you only exclusively need to eat tasty low volume foods. If you have 5 meals a day, and usually you have 5 big, very filling meals, and now all of a sudden you don't have an appetite, then let's say 2 or 3 of those we're going to switch to lower volume, tastier foods that are a bit more attractive. This can really help if you're struggling with appetite to get the food in. Now, on the other hand, if you're really struggling with appetite, you could take this further and you can make every one of your meals easy to get in. You could have 2 meals by way of a shake where you just add some protein powder, a little bit of honey, a banana, some milk, maybe a little bit of almond butter, you blend it up, and you're going to drink 500 calories, and that's going to be your meal. That counts just the same as consuming solid foods. Let's say your appetite is really struggling, we're going to do that twice, and then we're going to have a few other meals that are quite easy to get down. The macros might even be the same, this is just easier to eat. Okay, so it's about thinking outside the box, trying to potentially play about with liquid calories, play about with low volume, and play about with things that just taste a little bit better. Doesn't mean they're bad for you. Generally, if foods are natural whole foods, they're generally pretty good for you. I think some people really struggle with this concept because they think that you just need to eat chicken, broccoli and rice all the time and anything else is super bad for you. And that example that I gave you of bagel with honey and peanut butter, that's tasty and it's sweet, so therefore it has to be bad for you. People have certain food groups demonized, so they almost feel hesitant to do this and make this change. But don't fall into that trap because peanut butter is very healthy, honey is very healthy, and bagels are very good for you, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and especially when we consider the fact that nutrition is not just about one meal and you're only as good as your last meal. It's about your entire day. If you put that all onto one plate, how does the entire plate look? So we can afford to add some things in there that might be a little bit easier. They might not be classically seen as the best, but you might be surprised at what's healthy and not, and people don't realize that it actually is quite good for you. So try to go into this process with an open mind. Don't be married to one approach, and certainly be prepared to get rid of any false beliefs or ideas that you've been previously given by false information. Maybe you've grown up being told that carbs are bad for you or anything like that. It's all nonsense. Try and have an open mind, try and Google things, try and research, communicate with people who know well, and just manipulate your food so it is just a little bit easier for you. Because if it's one of those situations where your progress relies on the fact that you need to get the food in and you're just not hungry, making these very simple changes can go a long way to help. So that is essentially the overview. Very simple principle. I would definitely recommend using this advice as and when you need it type thing. If you're somebody who's naturally very hungry and you don't have problems and you can eat sacks of potatoes and whatever it is, then fine, crack on. And if you're happy doing that, cool. But if you're somebody like myself who really struggles with the calories, try and be a bit more intelligent with what foods you choose. And this advice can be used in reverse when you're in a fat loss phase and you're on less food and you're hungry and you want to feel more full. Have more voluminous foods. Have less palatable foods. It will make you chase and desire essentially tasty foods less. Okay, so any questions, drop them in the box. Hope this helps. Really simple concept. I'll see you in the next one.